We need to build a wall, and it has to be built quickly.
Good morning, everyone. It is Brian Wilson in for Chris Hand today on the Chris Hand Show. We expect Chris will be in fairly soon. We don't know exactly where he is. Apparently, he was in Arizona for the memorial service for Charlie Kirk, and is on his way back and is running a little bit behind schedule. So I'm filling the gap until Chris can arrive and carry on as he so ably does each day during this time slot. I don't want to step on Chris too much because he was there. He felt the emotions of the moment. It was a remarkable ceremony, a memorial service for Charlie Kirk. I sort of felt like yesterday I got up, went to Sunday school, went to church, came home, and went to church again as I watched this memorial service. It was a really incredibly emotional event, filled with some good old-fashioned preaching. I mean, you got preached at, and that's fine. I think that as tragic as the assassination of Charlie Kirk is, there is a moment. We are in a moment, a really critical inflection point. You might even say, if you'll excuse the pun, it's a turning point in America. His death has been so shocking and so painful to so many Americans that I think it has caused America to stop and catch its breath. And that we may well be, because of the events of the recent days, I think it may well be that we see real change in America as a result of this tragic event. The every speech that I heard yesterday was pretty remarkable. And I could spend a lot of time going through some of the sound, but the one thing that caught everybody's attention, the one thing that everybody is talking about today, were the comments of Erica Kirk. She's now the CEO of Turning Point, and she's going to go forward with that. And I will tell you that I really do believe that she will do a great job, and that Turning Point is going to be a very powerful organization in the days going forward. But there was this moment. I can't even begin to understand how someone could do this. But she forgave the assailant.
Charlie passionately wanted to reach and save the lost boys of the West. The young men who feel like they have no direction, no purpose, no faith, and no reason to live. The men wasting their lives on distractions, and the men consumed with resentment, anger, and hate. Charlie wanted to help them. He wanted them to have a home with Turning Point USA. And when he went onto campus, he was looking to show them a better path and a better life that was right there for the taking. He wanted to show them that. My husband, Charlie, he wanted to save young men just like the one who took his life. That young man on the cross, our Savior said, "Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do." That man, that young man, I forgive him.
And as you looked around that massive arena, that thousands and thousands of people gathered at, there weren't many dry eyes. It was a powerful, powerful moment. And I mean, what can you possibly say about that? I thought it was a really great moment. I thought it was a powerful moment. It was a nice send-off. As I mentioned in the crosstalk with Dan, the only speech that I wasn't completely wowed with, there were great moments for it. And, you know, this doesn't mean I don't love Donald Trump, but his speech was not, I don't think, one of the best of them. In fact, I saw afterwards Bill Maloogian over at Fox. He was out there outside the arena and talking to people as they came out. He got two people to stop and talk to him, and both of them incredibly eloquent in their assessment of what had happened. It was way better than what the president said. And the president had nice sentiments, don't get me wrong. I just felt like it turned into a bit of a political rally, and I thought that was, just me, I thought it was inappropriate. Again, other than that, I thought it was a remarkable, remarkable event. And doesn't change my feelings about Donald Trump and his policy, but I wish it had been a little bit more focused on Charlie and not so much on the current political climate. There's time for that. This wasn't the time, but there we go. 100 million people may have witnessed the power of the gospel and forgiveness at Charlie Kirk's memorial from thefederalist.com. Charlie Kirk always wanted to be remembered for courage for his faith, so it's only fitting that more than 100 million people around the world heard the good news that Jesus Christ saves at his memorial service on Sunday. And they went on to discuss it in greater detail about how this all went down. And it was good that America has to stop and think and perhaps consider the direction where we have been headed. I don't know. There's an awful lot of ugliness out there still. I am shocked, stunned, and amazed at the people who have decided to attack Charlie Kirk in the wake of his death and the things that he stood for. It's shocking to me. It's shocking to me. And the mischaracterization of Charlie Kirk continues. You know, the left wants to paint him as some kind of racist, some kind of homophobe. And, you know, nothing could be further from the truth. Charlie Kirk was what I like to call a happy warrior. He was out there every day engaging with people. He didn't argue with people. He didn't fight with people. He had discussions with people. What a concept. And you go back and you listen. Somebody said that I saw something on the internet where some individual who said, I am a man of color, and I've heard the allegations that this man was a racist. And I took it upon myself to watch hours and hours and hours of his past events. And he said, I can't find anything that suggests this individual was a racist. He wasn't a racist. He wasn't a homophobe. He was a man who was driven by his Christian faith and his conservative values. And I think you can make the case that Charlie Kirk is the reason that Donald Trump is our president today. He changed the minds of voters who might not otherwise have voted for Donald Trump. And I think he very much was a part of the reason that we have a president named Trump in office yet again. So, I admire him. So many people admired him. What a tremendous event there at the arena there in Arizona. I can't wait to hear what Chris has to say about it, given somebody who was in the room, who was able to feel the emotion of the moment. I mean, the emotion came right across the television screen. I mean, it was powerful. I just kept saying that, it may be one of the most impressive things that I've seen on television in quite a while. That we were having conversations about faith, about the future of this country, at the same time paying tribute to a man who lived his life as a happy warrior, a man who was a man of faith, a man of conservative values, who wanted to do this nation to return back to a better place. And I think that, even those who are critical of Charlie Kirk and the things that he stood for will now have to admit that he wasn't the man that he was painted to be by Jimmy Kimmel and others. I want to talk at some point about Jimmy Kimmel and all of that nonsense. And the number of people who have come forward to support Jimmy Kimmel in all of this is shocking to me, because what Jimmy Kimmel said was vile. What Jimmy Kimmel said was reprehensible. And by the way, absolutely 1,000% incorrect. So, I don't have much sympathy. I don't have much tolerance, I guess is the better word, for all of these people who are now coming and crying about poor Jimmy Kimmel. Poor Jimmy Kimmel. Listen, that there's more to that story than probably you have heard, and I'll try to get into that in just a little bit. Listen, we are going to be talking about Charlie Kirk, the event, and at some point I'll open up the phone lines and we'll get you on the line and let you have your say, because I'd like to know what you thought about it. And the number, 615-737-9986. If you want to get lined up and ready to go, we would love to have you come on and talk a little bit about your thoughts about the event that and if you didn't witness it, don't call. But if you watched it and you have something thoughtful to say, if you have something you feel like you want to share and get off your chest, 615-737-9986. It is 18 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Back in just a moment.
A man who was suspected of killing 2 people captured in a Putnam County resident's front yard. And the FBI says its investigation into Charlie Kirk's assassination is not over. We've got that and more coming up here at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 24 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I am Brian Wilson, filling in for Chris Hand, who should be arriving at the station any moment now. As you know, Chris used to work for Turning Point and went to Arizona for the memorial service. He's flying back. His flight's a little bit delayed, but we expect that he will be here at some point during his regular time slot. And I'm just filling in and tap dancing until the very able Chris Hand gets back and continues the show. I'm anxious to hear his thoughts as someone who was actually in the room, and I'm anxious to hear your thoughts. Phone lines are open at 615-737-9986. If you watched the event yesterday or you've seen some of the clips and you had a reaction, I'd really like to know how you felt it went. What was the feeling? Where do you think we are in America as this goes forward? What do you think will be the ultimate end result of all of that we are going through in America? 615-737-9986. Would really love to have you join us for that. There were 100 million people who may have gotten a dose of a religion yesterday. There are 100 million people who were watching. When you have, something like this is Super Bowl level stuff. You're talking about a lot of people watching an event on many different venues and walking away having, been preached at, talked to, great tributes time after time after time to Charlie Kirk, who, quite frankly, really may be responsible for, I think, what will be a tremendous revival in America. Earl in the borough is standing by, and by the way, phone lines are open at 615-737-9986. Earl, what's on your mind today? Give me your thoughts.
Hey, Mr. Bryan, it's really good to hear your voice, buddy. I appreciate you getting to retire, but I miss you bad, bro.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Good man. But I just wanted to say that, and in all honesty, not falsely accusing nobody, but I still believe the Democrat Party is corrupt, and I believe they're behind this man getting assassinated. And I think the country should have more respect for President Donald Trump. I think he's doing a marvelous job. I noticed they call him Trump all the time, but when it comes to Obama, they call him President Obama. And I hope the FBI digs in on his past, and I'd love to see him and Nancy and the rest of them hoodlums in Washington in jail. But keep up the good work, Mr. Bryan. It's really good to hear us.
Thank you for that, Earl. I greatly appreciate it. 615-737-9986. Trump is, we got stuff happening today. We're looking at what happened yesterday. We got some stuff that's going to be happening. I'll talk about it, after the news with Joan Jones here in just a bit. But, yesterday, I think that's going to reverberate for a long, long time. I think it's going to take a while for us to completely understand the impact of what we've all been through in the last 12 days, the emotional roller coaster that we have. This was a big moment. And it was so shocking and so tragic and so, what's the word I'm looking for? It was just so, it made you stop and think, and you had to stop and recognize the tragedy that we've just all witnessed. And as a result of that, we've ended up, I think, perhaps, the only thing I can come to it that sort of compares to that is 9/11. After 9/11, it was so shocking, it was so stunning, it was so sobering that it caught our attention, our collective national attention. I think this is one of those things.
But after 9/11, we all came together, Brian.
We did. For a while.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being in Washington, and you know how traffic is in Washington.
Oh, yeah.
It's just the worst. And people are brutal. But you know what? on 9/12, when I was trying to get back to the Pentagon for continued coverage, I couldn't believe how nice everybody was.
Letting you
no,
in.
you go. No,
Yeah.
you go. I mean, it was like it caught all of us, and for a brief moment there, we were all just sort of. It was a tender moment for the nation.
Yeah.
And we were all together and united. And I think that this thing has the potential to be something like that. What do you think, Joan?
I think it started off on the wrong foot. And I think that there's an undercurrent in our culture that's not going to allow that. That undercurrent wasn't there at 9/11. But the internet has introduced an evil undercurrent that led to the assassination in the first place. I'm not so sure that we can meet in the middle.
Well, I'm gonna hold out a good thought here. Hey, listen, I see a bunch of people are stacked up on the phone lines. We're gonna do the news right now. When we come back, nothing but your call, 615-737-9986. Your reaction to what you saw yesterday at this remarkable event in Arizona. It's 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning, now 9:30, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. On 840 westbound in Franklin this morning, just be advised that there is still the left lane blocked off just before Lewisburg Pike by that crash that's in the median. It's a tractor trailer that crashed, and the left lane again is blocked off 840 right at Lewisburg Pike in the westbound side. The manhunt for a suspected killer ended on one man's front lawn in Putnam County last night. His name is Daniel Whitehead, and he spoke to Channel 4.
My daughter looks out the window and she says, "Dad, that guy that the cops are looking for," she called him the shooter, "is outside." Just thinking about something like that could happen is it's pretty terrifying.
Now, the man outside was identified as 27-year-old Peyton Nations, who was taken into custody by police for the shooting deaths of two people earlier in the day in Rickman, Tennessee. Nations was booked into jail on a $40 million bond. The last of the three escaped inmates from a Madison County prison has now been captured. Dylan Decker picked up in Nashville over the weekend. His two accomplices were picked up last week. All three had escaped from the recreation yard at the prison. Law enforcement officials remain on high alert after at least 100,000 people attended the memorial for Charlie Kirk in Glendale, Arizona yesterday. ABC News contributor and former Homeland Security official John Cohen.
The shooting of Charlie Kirk is just a stark illustration of the seriousness of the threat environment we find ourselves in. Law enforcement's going to be looking in the days ahead to see how foreign and domestic threat actors will continue to try to exploit his death. And we've already seen efforts by Russia and other countries and even some domestic forces to take the death of Charlie Kirk and use it as an opportunity to sow discord, undermine confidence in our government, and inspire other violence.
FBI Director Kash Patel saying over the weekend that the investigation into the murder is not over, and it's investigating all the theories and questions surrounding the assassination on September 10th. That is the latest news. We've got some storms headed our way. The weather is next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Did you see these people in Washington, D.C. and their stupid chant?
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
So here's why this is dumb. Because Donald Trump sending in the National Guard is to stop the murders. Donald Trump is actually saving lives. Over the last 2.5 years, they have had 561 black people murdered in Washington, D.C. Donald Trump is sending in the National Guard to stop the crime. So Donald Trump is actually saving black lives.
It is 37 minutes now past the hour of 9 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. You're listening to The Chris Hand Show. Of course, I am not Chris Hand. I am your friend and radio buddy, Brian Wilson, filling in, as you might imagine, Chris, who had a relationship with Turning Point and Charlie Kirk as a friend, was in Arizona for the memorial service yesterday, remarkable memorial service, and is winging his way back. His flight's a little bit delayed, so I am in the chair until he arrives, and we will let you know when that is. It shouldn't be too long, back in his rightful place here. We've been talking a little bit about that event yesterday. I mean, so eye-opening. And the phone lines are open at 615-737-9986. I'd like to get your thoughts. If you watched it, what did you think? How did you walk away? Were you moved? What were the high points? Give me your thoughts. We'll start with Mike in Jolton. Mike, good morning. You're on with the Chris Hand Show. I'm Brian Wilson. What was your thought?
Well, it's just with Erica, his wife. This is years ago. My father was shot and killed, and it was on tape because he had called the police. They had the building surrounded, and the guy was talking to police. And I've never heard my father waver in his voice or anything. And I heard him just before he was shot and killed, pleading for his life, and the man shot him. And I went on years of just hate. And I had to finally do what Erica did. I had to forgive that man. The shooter of Charlie still has to face consequences, and that's up to the death penalty. But this is something she had to do in her faith, and also too to get to hate out of her heart. Because for me,
let me ask you, how did that help you?
It got to hate. I just had hate. I'd wake up every day thinking about that man, and it was just a part of my life. And it wasn't doing any good. It was just ruining my life. And so in that forgiveness, it took that hate away. And so that's it.
Well, listen, Mike, thank you so much. And I'm so sorry for what you've gone through. But, I mean, you have a perspective that not many people have. And I'm glad that you have found some peace in that issue. Thank you very much, Mike. Andy in the borough, yes. You're on with Brian down in Murfreesboro. What's your thought, Andy?
Hi, Brian. Thanks for taking my call.
You bet.
I didn't get to go. I was watching it at home, but I was really impressed when she announced that she forgave the young man that shot her husband.
Well, let me play that in case people have missed that. I've got it right here. Here's a little bit of what she had to say.
That man, that young man, I forgive him.
Go ahead, Andy.
So I think that, like the previous caller mentioned, that it took an incredible amount of strength for her to do that, to get that hatred and that animosity out of her heart, because all it does is it hurts you to carry it around. And so it took a tremendous amount of strength. But also I think, that's a personal choice that she would have to make. So why say it during her speech? And I think that it shows that she's setting the stage for and giving an example to all of the staff at Turning Point and everyone involved in the movement, and inviting them to do the same thing. And also I think that by doing that, she's helping to solidify Charlie's legacy and in moving forward, so that we're not building up little pockets of people within the movement that are going to turn to
Right.
hate and vitriol and violence.
Yeah.
And
Listen,
so I think it
Andy,
was really, really poignant.
it was a poignant moment. I mean, you looked around the room, and there weren't many dry eyes in the place, that's for sure. Andy, thank you for the call. Steve, out on the road. Stephen, you're up next with the Chris Hand Show. What's your thought?
Hey, Brian, good morning. Hey,
Morning.
Thanks for taking my call.
You bet.
Hope all is well. Everything's going good out there in Watertown for you?
It is, yeah.
All right. And, yeah, man, this is awesome. A 9-hour video. I watched every bit of it because I've been on the road heading west. And so I watched it, all the musical performances, all of the speakers. The most powerful thing I took out of all of it was that message when she forgave that young man. And, I mean, it just goes to show how powerful the love of God is over all hatred. And I hope that everybody, all the people on the left, you know, and the critics and the government and the TV talk show hosts, I hope they took that in. And I think we're seeing little piece by piece of God's work when things like this happen across our nation. We're seeing that whole left movement, that whole DEI stuff and all that. We're seeing it dissolve out through these.
It certainly feels that way, doesn't it, Stephen?
It's yes. It seems like it's going away. This is the work of God. This is the Holy Spirit working through us to do this. And it's sad that we had to lose that Charlie Kirk to that young man. But here's the thing: by forgiving him, this is one great work for her, because what your last caller said, releasing that hate. But also, I don't know how this works. If the state of Utah or whoever's handling this is gonna seek the death penalty or a firing squad or whatever, or is it going to be her decision in the end, or Trump's decision? But in the end, we should let this guy live. I say this: let's let this young man live it out for as long as he can, because in one case, they're going to throw him to the demons. He's going to go in there, and who knows how long he's going to last amongst all of that stuff, or what he's going to go through. But I would love to see this guy change one day in the future. I think it would be an awakening for the entire country, and for him to come back against what he done and prophesy against that and that whole tranny.
I don't know how that's going to work out there, Stephen. I think one of the things that I'm sort of reading and what I'm hearing is that they will talk to Erica, and she will have input, but the initial plan now is to seek the death penalty in the state of Utah. They still have, and I think you're correct. I think they still have firing squads in Utah. Thank you for the call. Yeah. Listen, we got to take a break. When we come back in a moment, more of your calls, 615-737-9986. Brian Wilson in for Chris Hand.
Did you see this lunatic?
What's wrong with me? Oh,
right.
hey, smile
Excuse
for the
you.
camera, you little Nazi
That's
bitch.
enough.
Kill all Nazis. We won World War II. Fuck you. Kill all Nazis.
So that is a crazed leftist yelling at a Republican and calling him Nazis. When will the Democrats understand calling Republicans Nazis is anti-Semitic? Because when you do that, what you're doing is sanitizing what Adolf Hitler and the Nazis did. That, my friends, is anti-Semitic.
Kill all Nazis. We won World War II. Fuck you. Kill all Nazis.
Protesters deployed in Nashville over the weekend. We'll tell you why. Also, President Trump takes aim at companies hiring foreign workers. That and more coming up at 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, Joan Jones in the newsroom. She'll be back up here at the top of the hour with all of your headlines. A lot of stuff going on today, but we're still looking backwards at what happened yesterday in Arizona. Chris Hand will be in. He was at the event. Be in soon. We're waiting on him to arrive. In the meantime, this is Brian Wilson filling in. We're going to the phone lines. Your thoughts about what you saw yesterday. William, line 4, out on the road. What was your thought about yesterday's event?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say I think you said you was going to retire. Obviously, they're keeping you in a closet around there somewhere because they're not going to let you retire. I hear you, Brian. Listen, I'm not a knock on the service itself. It was a beautiful service. 9 hours of television on YouTube. My wife and I both watched it. I went to a faith-based event Wednesday last week. It was a beautiful event. But I want to say I kind of side with you. I think the cards were being held by Trump Jr. and Trump and a few other speakers. I don't think it was the right place to talk about National Guard in Chicago or Memphis or, those things weren't
or
important.
autism or any of the other things, yeah.
Exactly. And again, it's not a knock on any of the listeners or you, but I kind of agree with what you said. So I'll hang up and listen to your comments.
Well,
good hearing you, Brian.
Listen, I love Donald Trump, and I'm a big supporter of his policies. And I have been consistent on this since day one. My take on Donald Trump is I think he's the right man for the job. But there are times when his lack of discipline in the communication process just drives me crazy. And it may be that I'm just sensitive to this because of what I do for a living. I believe in trying to be an effective communicator and having a good ear for the moment. What should I be talking about today as a talk show host? Is always something that, what is the most important thing I can be talking about? In this particular case, I think Trump got off the beam. I mean, look, here's what Trump does as a communicator. And again, people are going to be mad for me saying this, but I got to say it. He has a speech. It's been beautifully written for him. The speech itself was fine. It's when he diverts from the speech and starts ad-libbing that he gets off into troublesome territory at times. He's gotten better. But yesterday, I cringed. I did, and this is not the right place for that. This is about something else. This is about Charlie and remembering Charlie and healing the nation, and not the time to talk about the other stuff. I mean, there'll be plenty of time to talk about it. In fact, we're going to talk about it. If I'm still here in the next hour, Chris hasn't arrived, I'll continue to talk about some of the things that Trump's doing today that I love. But I felt it was a little inappropriate. That's the way I felt. And I saw online where a lot of other people shared that opinion. Jeremy in the borough, you're up next on the drive. What do you say, Jeremy? I'm sorry, Laramie.
Ron, how's it going?
You're going well. What's your thought?
Good. Man, my word is gratitude. Whether it's personally in my own prayer time or at churches that I've attended, we've prayed for our country and our leaders to, focus more on gospel leadership, gospel-centered, Christ-centered leadership. And you saw that on full display last night. I think it was just a beautiful service. The music was incredible. You saw the gospel explained, and then you saw it walked out by Erica Kirk. And the leaders of our country were many of the people who shared that gospel-centered message. I thought it was just a beautiful service.
I did too. I really did too. Laramie, thank you for the call. How about Carl? Also calling in from Murfreesboro. What's on your mind today, Carl? What do you think? Hello, Carl. You there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you are. Go ahead, Carl. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thanks for taking my call. I agree with you wholeheartedly about Trump. Matter of fact, I thought maybe he shouldn't have even spoke, but that's just my opinion. But, my wife, the reason I was calling, you were talking about forgiveness earlier with another caller.
Right.
And my wife, this has been like 20 years ago, she borrowed a book from a friend about forgiveness, and she said this: the book taught her forgiveness isn't about the other person, it's about yourself. It puts your mind at ease and releases you from any hate. And that's exactly what Charlie Kirk's wife did, because guess what? When this happened with my wife, I had a falling out with my family, and I was upset. And yet the people that offended me, they may not even know that they offended me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was hanging on to that. But guess what? You know, justice will be served. And this man, it's either he repents, because most likely in Utah they do execute. And I know that he probably has remorse. But on the other hand, Satan, he thinks he's won, but he hasn't. But hey, by the way, thanks for retiring, because we get to hear you more.
Seems that way at times, doesn't it? Thank you, Carl.
Keep
I
up the
appreciate
great
it.
world, man.
I will. Thank you very much for that nice sentiment. Danny in Spring Hill. Hello, Danny. You're on with Brian on the drive. Danny, what's your thought?
Hey there, Brian. I'm actually calling from Springfield. I think I see your point with Trump, but I have to tell you that when they're starting to assassinate conservative leaders, that it's definitely the time to stand up and speak out about all the things that are going on in the world, and how we have to assert the conservative values and the conservative message. And he had to show the nation that we're not going to be silenced. And I understand that it was a memorial service for Charlie, but Charlie loved this man, and he put all of his assets and all of his talents behind him.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I wanted to say.
Well, Danny, I appreciate that point of view. I mean, I think that I did see people who are both supportive and people who were critical of it in both ways. It just felt sort of weird on my ear, but that's just me. Let's see if we can get a couple more of these in. Mike in Spring Hill, you're up next on the Chris Hand Show.
Hey, Brian, thanks for taking my call. Yeah, I was really touched by Erica's statement, but I could not forgive him. I guess I'm just not that good of a person. So I give her kudos for forgiving him. And my other comment is Jasmine Crockett. She is pure evil. What she said about Charlie yesterday, and, you know, if a white person said that about a black person that's been assassinated, they'd be called a racist. And she is just pure evil.
All right.
I don't know why they don't call her out on it.
I choose not to pay much attention to her, but apparently, you know, she really is something that probably we should address in the show. It is time for the news now at 10 o'clock. When we come back, we'll continue and until Chris arrives from his flight back from Arizona. You're listening to The Chris Hand Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning, I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Got a closure to tell you about this morning in Hendersonville. Walton Ferry Road between Campus Drive and Cages Road closed off Monday through Friday of this week from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. This is utility work they'll be performing there all week long. In the news, the estimates for how many people attended the memorial for Charlie Kirk in Arizona range from the tens of thousands, you'll hear that a lot in the media, to 200,000. Millions of people tuned in to watch. Regardless, many people walked away from the event with this.
You could feel so much love and so much want for this country to just get better and grow, and this love for the Lord, and just a change. Like, we just need a change.
President Trump announcing that he'll award Charlie Kirk the Presidential Medal of Freedom posthumously, the nation's highest civilian honor. President Trump also said yesterday he'll bestow that honor on one of his former presidential opponents, Dr. Ben Carson. A nationwide string of protests hit Nashville yesterday, with a few protesters holding signs that encourage a boycott of Avelo Airlines. They tell Channel 4 they're angered that the company signed a contract with ICE to carry out deportation flights.
The CEO of Avelo Airlines, Andrew Levy, he lives in Houston. We've sent him 80,000 letters so far. He has not responded. What he has said is, we don't care. We're going to do what the government asks us to do.
Avelo says none of the deportation flights operate out of Nashville. Got a heads up for I-24 drivers on Wednesday. I-24 at Medical Center Parkway in Murfreesboro. The off-ramps there in both directions will close, and there'll be some lane closures on the highway as well, as TDOT installs some barrier walls. This will take place between 8 p.m. Wednesday night and 5 a.m. Thursday morning. Forecasters got an eye on Hurricane Gabrielle as it moves towards Bermuda. They say it will not make a direct hit on the U.S., but it could cause some dangerous rip currents along the East Coast. Right now, Gabrielle is now at a Category 3 storm. Tech companies and workers in the San Francisco Bay Area bracing for a new fee. This one is for H-1B visas, and it's 6 figures.
President Trump signed an executive order Friday imposing a $100,000 fee on H-1B visas. Some people have been rushing to fly back to the U.S.
Microsoft and Amazon and other companies communicating with their workers outside the United States come back.
Those visas bring high-skilled tech workers like scientists, engineers, and architects to the U.S. The White House says the fee will not affect current H-1B visa holders. Some believe the new fee will disrupt the tech industry in the Bay Area. In San Francisco, Suzanne Fawn, ABC News.
On Wall Street, stocks have turned positive. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
J.D. Vance descended upon Union Station in Washington, D.C. today, and he was met with some unhinged leftist protesters.
You big f***ing Nazis!
Now, there's a couple ways that you can deal with radical leftist lunatics, but I want to highlight the method that J.D. chose today. This method is, of course, the all-encompassing point and laugh.
This is the guy who thinks people don't deserve law and order in their own community.
Like and subscribe for more tips on how to deal with unhinged leftist lunatics out in the wild. This has been brought to you by our friends at Zero Res Nashville. If you need your carpets cleaned, go to ZeroResNashville.com.
Well, good morning to you, everyone. 6 minutes past the hour of 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. You are listening to The Chris Hand Show. I'm Brian Wilson, filling in for Chris until he arrives back from Arizona. As you know, Chris had a long-running relationship with Turning Point and is still friendly with all of those people and was a friend of Charlie Kirk's. And he was in Arizona for the event yesterday at State Farm Stadium, where I guess the Cardinals play. And it was a remarkable thing, but he's flying on the way back. Plane got a little delayed, so I am here until he arrives, if he arrives, one way or the other. But I expect that he'll be in we're probably going to be here another hour before he arrives back into the station. So we'll let you know what the latest on that is. It was a remarkable event yesterday. So powerful. I mean, speaker after speaker after speaker, it was inspiring. It really, truly was. And, of course, topped off by Erica Kirk and her tribute to her husband, in which she forgave her husband's assailant. I didn't get to talk in the last hour, and I just want to spend a few minutes talking about this whole thing with Jimmy Kimmel. I think that the things that Jimmy Kimmel said were hateful. I think they were inappropriate. And by the way, they were inaccurate. The number one rule that you have, in communication is to always be truthful. Try, to the best of your knowledge, be truthful. And it was absolutely not truthful, the things that he said about Charlie Kirk. It's as if he'd never spent even a moment listening to anything that Charlie Kirk had said. And so, I'm shocked, stunned, and amazed at the number of people who have come to the defense of Jimmy Kimmel in this matter. Even that nice guy, Jay Leno, coming and saying, well, I'm with Charlie Kirk on this one. I mean, I'm with, Jimmy Kimmel on this one. And I went, wow, really? Did you do your homework on that? Look, a lot of people on the left are pointing to Jimmy Kimmel and the cancellation or the suspension of his show. He was suspended, and the show is not on the air, as some kind of political pressure brought to bear on ABC News or ABC, the network. And let me just say, nothing I think is further from the truth. Let's talk about what happened. There were two companies, big major media companies. One of them was Nexstar. The other was Sinclair. Together, they represent a heck of a lot of ABC affiliates around the country. And they made a decision that they thought the things that Jimmy Kimmel had said were so reprehensible and so out of the mainstream political thought and so rude and inappropriate that they said, we're not going to put Jimmy Kimmel on our air. We're going to run movies or do something else, but we're not going to put him on the air anymore. Well, ABC is already losing money, hand over fist, on this guy. He cost him about $15 million a year. That's just his cost. The cost of the show runs into probably the hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're not making any money, and they just lost a great number of their ABC affiliates who weren't going to carry the show. Lost ad revenue was what killed him. What killed Jimmy Kimmel and got him suspended. It was a market decision. Beyond that, let's just say, well, it's free speech. It's free speech. Well, I'm all for free speech. I mean, given what I do, you would expect that, right? I believe in free speech. I believe in being, powerful and communicating and expressing ideas. There's nothing wrong with that. You have to be accurate in what you say. But with this guy, it was, you have to recognize that free speech is not speech free from consequences. I mean, we do have free speech in America, and you can say whatever you want, as reprehensible as you want to be. That's, I may not always agree with the things that the other side says, but I will defend to my death their right to say it. They have the right to say it, just like we have the right to say what we think. But it's not free from consequences. When you say something, there can be consequences. And his comments, inaccurate, reprehensible, so many different levels, just wrong of him to do that and to use his platform for that, that I don't have any problem at all. Again, it wasn't political pressure, it was market pressure. By the way, they probably at ABC said, oh, man, here's our chance to get rid of this guy. He's killing us. We're losing money hand over fist. Nobody watches the show. We're probably giving him more publicity than he would otherwise get because nobody watches that dang show. So I am absolutely believe that it was proper to suspend him. I don't think he should ever be allowed to come back. I read today where there's some talk that if he apologizes or, maybe there'll be lawsuits that ABC may be forced to bring him back. I don't know that they have any obligation to bring him back. When you work in television, you have certain things that are in your contract that protect you, but you also don't get carte blanche to just use that platform to say any reprehensible thing you want to say. So market pressure, and remember this, free speech. I'm a big proponent of free speech, but free speech is not free from consequences if you say stupid things. Reprehensible things. So I'm done with that guy. Never thought much of him to begin with. I don't know that he'll be back. If he is, I'll be very disappointed in ABC for making that decision. So, good. The left just can't help itself. They simply cannot help themselves. They are so filled with hatred. I wonder if any minds on the left were changed by what happened yesterday. The spirit of the moment, the incredible messaging that was done yesterday. I hope that it did. I hope that it softened some hearts. And I hope that it left people open to reconsidering their previous positions. James in Lebanon standing by on line 1. He wants to talk about Jimmy Kimmel. James, what was your thought?
Hey, good morning, sir. I just wanted to say when I was a kid, my parents and I and my siblings and our family, after work and school, late night, we would gather around the TV. We would watch Jay Leno, David Letterman, and it was great. It brought families together. I just feel like that was a much better, because now nobody watches anymore because of all the filth they spew on late night. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Well, I think you're right, and I think as I look at the numbers, late night TV is not what it used to be. It used to be, in my day, it was Carson. Everybody stayed up to watch Carson. If you didn't stay for the whole show, you stayed for the monologue because it was always so good. But he was an equal opportunity offender, and his political humor singed but never burned. You know what I'm saying? It was
he was amazing.
He was so good. And in the early days, I loved Dave Letterman. Dave Letterman got very bitter and very political in the late part of his career, and seems to be a rather embittered individual now. I don't know why, but one way or the other, I used to love Dave Letterman's sense of humor and his wackiness. I was a big fan, but it got to be so painful to watch the hatred spew out of Dave Letterman at the end that I couldn't watch him. And again, Jay Leno, again, a man who largely does not do political humor.
Yeah, he was fantastic. And I think when you do both sides,
he's supporting Kimmel on this one, and that's surprising to me. James, thank you so much. More on that in just a moment. We got to take a break right now. 16 minutes past the hour of 10 o'clock.
What's happening in Memphis in the run-up to the National Guard troops arriving there? And a local man is missing, but police aren't searching for him around here. We've got that and more coming up here at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 20 minutes past the hour of 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. You're listening to The Chris Hand Show. I'm Brian Wilson, filling in for Chris Hand, who was in Arizona for the big memorial service for Charlie Kirk yesterday and was flying back early this morning. The good news is he has arrived. His plane has landed. He's grabbing his bag. He's making a run for the station, and we should have him, in the next hour for sure. And real important, I think, because, here is a man who was in the room. He'll be able to talk about the events that we all witnessed on television in a very different way, because he was there and he experienced it, and we look forward to that. So that will be he probably will be in for the top of the 11 o'clock or shortly thereafter, okay? So in the meantime, we're talking a little bit about what happened at that memorial service, but lately I've been talking about Jimmy Kimmel, who was suspended by ABC News for the things he said about Charlie Kirk, and I completely support the suspension. It's been a lot of bad information reported on this. This was driven by markets. He lost the support of the ABC affiliates. ABC can't just run a show that nobody carries. They can't spend millions of dollars on a program that a vast part of America will never see, because the local stations owned by Nexstar and Sinclair, they own a ton of ABC affiliates around the country, said it was so out of line. It was so reprehensible that and by the way, incorrect and inaccurate. We're not going to carry his show any longer. ABC put him on suspension. I don't think he's probably coming back. If he comes back, I'll be very disappointed. It sounds like lawsuits and lawyers are involved, so we'll see how that goes. Let's go to Jerry. He's up north in Bowling Green on this topic. Jerry, what's your thought?
Yeah, Brian, thanks for taking the call. One thing that people don't seem to understand, and I've heard it, on radio stations, also on videos and such, they don't understand the difference concerning freedom of speech. Freedom of speech, as we are guaranteed, is saying that the federal government and the government cannot censor or prevent your speech. It has nothing to do with private corporations or companies and how they react to your speech. And that's what people don't seem to understand. Yeah, you have the freedom to say anything you want to say. But, like you said, there can be repercussions, but
consequences.
Not from
yes,
the government.
Imagine that, consequences in America today for things that nobody seems to either pay for the things that they do that are wrong. But there are
right.
consequences.
Yeah, and there's consequences and there's accountability.
Right.
But people conflate the two different things. There's public. The government cannot prevent you or censor your speech, but you still have to answer to your boss, your company, other companies. People have the right to choose to do business with you or not.
Your customer base, that's right. Yeah.
So that's what I think people don't seem to understand, that there's what you say can still have lots of consequences, but just not from the government.
That's right. You're absolutely right, and I applaud those comments. Thank you very much for that, Jerry. Very much for that. I spent a lot of time in television. I know a little bit about the industry. The relationship between local affiliates and the network is very strong in most situations. You cannot have a successful TV station without having a network affiliation of some kind. But I think that the folks at ABC, and especially on the Jimmy Kimmel Show, lost perspective about what a tragic moment this was. and how it impacted Americans. And for you to come on national TV and say things that are 1,000% inaccurate, pretty reprehensible. To try to paint Charlie Kirk as a hate monger is just never going to work. He was not that. Did he have strong feelings? Yes. Was he a conservative? Yes. You may have different opinions from him, but he wasn't hateful about the way that he went about it. In fact, I think he sets the standard for what we should all try to do. Let the power of our ideas win. Express yourself forcefully, but respectfully. Listen to the other side. Engage in thoughtful conversation. Without screaming, without hollering. It's not necessary. It's always been the way I like to do things. I like to say that, we can disagree without being disagreeable. We can have different opinions in America and let's have the debate of ideas and see, where America lands. Right now, America is liking what they're seeing in the Trump administration by and large. The numbers are very strong. People are, I think, positive about the changes that are happening in America. Are there people who disagree with Trump? Yeah. But let's have a respectful conversation about it. And by the way, let's try to see if we can find a little common ground in the wake of all of this. I've always struggled to understand why we can't, there are things that you and I are going to believe that the left will never believe, and there are things the left believes that you and I are never going to buy. But there are things in the middle that we all agree upon. Pick the low-hanging fruit. Try to be productive. Try to go forward. Have conversations about the things that matter. Let's go to Brian in Spring Hill out on the road. Your thoughts on this, Brian?
Hey, Brian. Nice to hear your voice again, buddy. And
Thank you.
I'm a big Chris Hand fan, so I miss him. I tell him he's my Charlie Kirk because I didn't grow up with him. I didn't watch him on video. I'm 65. But Chris Hand is he's missed today, and I'm glad he landed safely, but glad to have you too.
Well, he'll be on in a bit, so hang in there, but go ahead with your thought.
Yeah, I hear that he's touched the ground. I was just telling the Mason, I guess, that answered, I see all this talk about free speech, but free speech is still free in this country. The people out that are our government's not out there taking people off those protest lines because they're saying vile things and using our Lord's name in vain and other things. Everybody gets mad about certain words, but they don't take people off the street and put them in jail for saying something about Jesus Christ or God. And that's what they do. Some of them are so foul, I guess is the word. Some of them are so terrible that they just say anything. They don't care. And do I think they should be put in jail? Sure, for being stupid. So that's all I got to say, and I'm glad you're back.
Well, thank you, Brian, just for a short while, but we appreciate it. Chris Hand should be here, we think, maybe in the 11 o'clock hour. He should be over from the airport ready to take over, and he'll be there. And you're right. He's very strong. Chris is really, I really love listening to the Chris Hand Show. I truly do. So there we are. It is coming up in just a moment. We'll have the news, and when we come back, I want to talk about an announcement that's going to be made this afternoon. No doubt going to be pretty controversial, and it has to do with autism. And does the Trump administration, have they found the cause of autism? I mean, really remarkable thing if they have. It's got to be controversial. It's already controversial. And we'll get into all of that in just a short while. Right now, on Super Talk 99.7, time for the news with Joan. You're listening to The Chris Hand Show.
I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. The highlight for the memorial for Charlie Kirk in Arizona yesterday, may have been Erica Kirk's forgiveness of the suspected killer. But there were many high-level speakers there, too, including the Vice President of the United States. Here's ABC's Perry Russum.
A 5-hour service attracting tens of thousands to State Farm Stadium near Phoenix. The memorial at times resembling a church revival. Vice President J.D. Vance was a close friend of Kirk's.
Charlie built an organization that reshaped the balance of our politics.
Vance noting nearly the entire Trump cabinet was there. Elon Musk also seen meeting with Trump for the first time since their fallout in June.
And in fact, that moment ended with a handshake. The National Guard troops scheduled to arrive in Memphis any day now. Ahead of that arrival, there's a new initiative that's been launched in Memphis. It's called Own Your Block, where residents clean up their own neighborhoods. Mayor Paul Young saying that in some cases, how a neighborhood looks can have an impact on crime. And he says the troops that are on their way can be a force multiplier.
That they are coming alongside us and really folding into the programs that we already have so that they can be a force multiplier instead of doing things that aren't as strategic.
Senator Marsha Blackburn saying that Memphis police force is short about 800 officers, and the extra help will allow the police force to expand crime-fighting efforts to make Memphis safe again. The search continues for a man missing in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. 21-year-old Ryan Lakes last seen in Nashville on Thursday. His car, though, was found at the park on Saturday. The National Park Service is getting some help from several organizations. They are searching in the Big Creek area of the park. That's the latest news. Stick around for weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
I love this. Morgan Wallen has now decided to not submit his album, I'm the Problem, for consideration at the Grammys, which I think is a really, really smart move. You know why? Because last year, Beyonce won Album of the Year at the Grammys, which was absolute bullshit. Well played, Morgan. Well played.
It is 35 minutes past the hour of 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I am Brian Wilson filling in for Chris Hand, who is motoring. He is from BNA to Music Row and will be, I am told, we should be in the chair when we start the 11 o'clock hour after the news. So that's great. We'll get to hear, firsthand from Chris, what it was like to be in that stadium and that arena, and what he took away from yesterday's memorial service for Charlie Kirk, and what an event it was. I mean, really, quite frankly, so moving, so touching. And it was like we went to church, as I said earlier. Cabana wife and I went to church twice yesterday. We went to our regular church and we came home and settled down in front of the TV and went to church again, because that was really quite the tribute. And by the way, maybe 100 million people watching. We'll find out the exact numbers today. But what an impact that message could have. And then we were talking a little bit about Jimmy Kimmel, who's been taken off the air by ABC News. I found a story on Fox, foxnews.com, from a Jimmy Kimmel staffer named Rick Ellis. This is what you're dealing with. This is the way they look at it, and it's just, you shake your head and you go, oh my gosh, really? Jimmy Kimmel gets on the air and says things that are 100% inaccurate, wrong, inflammatory, ugly, reprehensible. And when the market responded and said, we're not going to carry that show anymore on our radio, on our TV station, then, ABC did what they had to do. This is what a staffer named Rick Ellis has to say. He spoke to a newsletter called Too Much TV. I want to think, will there be a scenario in which he returns? I want to think he will, but I can't imagine a scenario in which that happens. Even if Jimmy were to publicly apologize and donate money to whatever ghoulish conservative group that is demanding it, MAGA people will never be happy. It will never be enough. Did nobody tell them that you're only making the situation worse? And Disney will look at the situation and decide it's cheaper to buy out the rest of his contract and replace the show with reruns of Modern Family and Judge Judy. Somehow they'll convince themselves the worst is behind them until a day or two pass and they find themselves having to defend Whoopi and the other women of The View, and no one wants to be in that position. He continued, I had zero faith that any of the network execs had the slightest bit of stones to stand up for their employees. They're standing up for America by doing this. I mean, yeah, I was surprised it happened that specific day, but you could see it coming. And every time some MAGA A-hat would spout off about the show, the knot in my stomach just got tighter. They believe you're just an A-hat. We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them. That's what Kimmel said. And asked if they believed that Kimmel's critics had a point, the staffer, Rick Ellis, said, no point at all. They don't get it, folks. Kimmel doesn't get it. The other late night show, with the exception of Greg Gutfeld, don't get it. Simply don't understand. They're out of touch with mainstream thought in America. And they don't seem to understand that. Do they have people that agree with them? Absolutely, there are people who agree with him, but that doesn't mean that they have the right to get on the air and say things that are just factually wrong. As I say, and I'll say it again, free speech, I'm a huge proponent of free speech. You have the right to stand on your soapbox in the middle of downtown Nashville and say anything on your mind. But there are consequences for the things that you say. Free speech is not free from consequences. If you say hateful things and people react, oh well, that's the other side of free speech. People are free to ignore or to disagree with you. I don't think he's coming back. I got a great idea. If ABC wanted to keep late night talk shows alive, and I'm not sure they do because they're not making anybody any money. Colbert's gone. Kimmel's gone. Probably won't be back. I noticed Jimmy Fallon is walking a tightrope. He was supposed to be somewhere to have a conference thing, and in light of everything that is said, he canceled the appearance because he didn't want to be asked the questions he knows he's going to be asked. Maybe NBC canceled as well. I mean, the number one late night show right now is Greg Gutfeld. Truly is. People are just worn out by the continual haranguing and the politicization of late night television. What happened to the old thing about entertainers are supposed to entertain, right? So I think this is I think that what he did was reprehensible, and I don't think he's going to be back. And I wouldn't be surprised if late night television changes in a new direction. I wouldn't be surprised if late night television, as we have always known it, will go away. But if you want to salvage it, ABC, I got the perfect solution. It's going to cost you. Nate Bargatze. That's your solution right there. Here's a guy who is not political, funny as hell, a good clean comic, a man who has won over the hearts of America. I mean, he is wildly popular. He can go on Saturday Night Live and hang out with them and still do stuff that's funny. If you were in conversations to replace Jimmy Kimmel with Nate Bargatze, you would have something. You would have something that people would watch. So, I mean, I don't know that they can afford him because Nate's doing real well for himself right now. He's got his Netflix specials. He's out there filling arenas and stadiums and traveling the world and making, making good money, good jingle right now. So I don't know if they can afford him, but that would be the solution, wouldn't it? Don't you think? I think so. In a moment, I want to finish up the time that I'm here with you with a couple of stories that I found that have nothing to do with the events of the last 24, 36 hours. Have nothing to do with Charlie Kirk or Jimmy Kimmel or any of that nonsense. Just some stories that I think you're going to be hearing about and things that, maybe you haven't heard enough about. Right now, it's time for a commercial break on Super Talk 99.7. You're listening to the Chris Hand Show. I'm Brian Wilson filling in.
Erica Kirk says it is what Christ wants. And another antitrust trial against Google enters its remedies phase today. We'll tell you about these stories and more at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Ken Weaver's in the newsroom.
What's going on, Big Brother Brian?
All's right with the world. It's good to hear your voice, Ken.
You too, brother.
Hey, listen, good news. Chris Hand has made it back to the studio. He was in Arizona this morning when he woke up.
He's getting everything fired up right now.
He's putting on his headphones, getting ready, and I'm ready to hand it over to him. I just can't wait to hear your thoughts about what you witnessed firsthand yesterday.
Well, Brian, I just got to tell you, man, first, thank you for jumping in last minute. I mean, we were running and gunning all morning, and then it was 7 o'clock in Chicago, and it was like, oh, there's a latch that we need to keep the fire extinguisher on the wall. And I was like, what? Like, we're sitting on the plane.
Oh, no.
And then it's like, yeah, it's going to take us about an hour and a half.
Yeah,
So
you know what you say? He says, hand that to me, I'll hold it for you.
It's like, don't we have duct tape somewhere? Don't you guys? Can't we just use that? I mean, I've seen these jets. So, we got a little bit of delay, and I'm grateful that we have somebody of your caliber that can step in and fill in. I do feel a little bit like a Democrat, though. Currently, I kind of want to reclaim some of my time, and I'm going to talk to Chad Benson and see if I can get about 2 hours back, because I don't know if I have enough time to explain everything that went on this weekend. I mean, this was maybe one of the craziest weekends of my entire life. And I think I want to begin by first, again, saying thank you to you, Brian, but I have to give props to the entire Turning Point USA staff. The event that you guys saw over the weekend, where we're now seeing about 100 million overall streams online, 70,000 plus in attendance. The overflow stadium had thousands in attendance. That was pulled off in 7 days.
Yeah.
And something that you might not realize about the Turning Point staff is when I was the media director for those guys, I was the oldest one on staff. Like it was really weird. I was the youngest guy here at Super Talk, and then I was the oldest guy at Turning Point. And the majority of the staff is under 25.
Wow.
So for them to pull off an event of that caliber with that kind of roster, the Secret Service preparation that goes into those events was unbelievable. Unbelievable. And they weren't even sure that they could secure the venue. So there was actually something else scheduled at State Farm Stadium where the Arizona Cardinals play. The White House put a call in to State Farm, and they said, Charlie needs a bigger venue. You're going to need to move that. And that's how we got State Farm.
Wow.
It's truly unbelievable. But what we witnessed wasn't just a memorial service for Charlie Kirk. We witnessed the largest singular proclamation of the gospel in human history. We have never seen the gospel touch every corner of the world like we saw over this past weekend. And I mean, my wife and I were joking. We're running on Jesus. I mean, I had 5 hours of sleep since Saturday, and I know that that's more than some Turning Point employees have gotten. This was just unbelievable from top to bottom. And the repercussions and the reverberations that we're going to feel from this, we're going to feel it for generations.
I think you're right on that, Chris. I think we talk about. I used the word inflection point.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could put it another way. It's a turning point.
It is
for
a
the
turning
nation.
point. It is a turning point.
It truly is a turning point.
And when you see that crowd, when we were in there, man. There's black people, there's Asian people, there's white people. It's the mixed bag of mixed bags, and everybody is there to pay their respects to Charlie Kirk. But there were some moments that were just goosebump giving. When Brandon Lake started leading us in worship, I mean, my feet are throbbing. I basically have been standing for 2 days, it feels like. But when Brandon Lake started leading us in worship, it was something that was truly remarkable. He starts singing Hallelujah, and the way it reverberated out of
I can't imagine what it would be like to be in the room, because on television it made the hair on the back of my neck stand up.
Yes.
It was really that good.
This moment, though, where he asked everybody to put their phones away and just be in the moment for a second, and to hear a 70,000 person filled stadium echoing this out.
Every voice, every hand, you take it away. So I throw up my head, praise you again.
before we even get into anything, I mean, there's not a dry eye in the crowd.
No, there's not.
And Turning Point thought of everything. If you're watching on the stream, you'll see a picture behind me of Charlie Kirk, and it says, "Here I am, Lord, send me," Isaiah 6:8. There were pictures on every seat in that stadium.
Wow.
Every single seat. And that was hand-placed by the youth, the young staff of Turning Point USA in the overnight hours. There were these wristbands that I'm wearing. "We are Charlie Kirk." And that's on every seat. There's a mini pack of Kleenex tissues on every single seat. They didn't miss a beat. What they did was truly incredible, truly inspiring. And then they spread the gospel, man. And that's what it was. Have you ever, Brian, seen a point in history where the entire cabinet is proclaiming Jesus Christ on a stage?
No, I have not. And to be there and to be supportive and to say the things that Marco Rubio and Pete Hegseth and the others had to say, it was powerful. Every step of the way, it was powerful. I wish Trump had stayed a little bit more on topic.
Yep.
But other than that, I think it was a remarkable time, and I think the reverberations of what we saw and what you witnessed firsthand are going to be with us for a while.
I mean, me and my wife,
in a very positive way.
When me and my wife left, it was like we were still trying to process. I'm still trying to process what we witnessed. We were talking about the different speakers and this and that, and it's like, oh yeah, Tucker was there too. It's like the fact that like there's so many speakers that you almost start forgetting who you saw. And the way they were flowing, everybody was in and out in about 10 minutes, next one up, and they're all proclaiming Jesus. I mean, we had Pastor Rob McCoy, who I also got to see Friday night at World Outreach Church in Murfreesboro, and I got to speak with him there. The way he preached the gospel was unbelievable. Frank Turek, the way he called for repentance was unbelievable. But we had worship songs full of scripture. We had personal testimonies by the work of Christ and the witnesses of believers, and not just on stage either. You saw that on the news with the audience that were lined up. And it was so cool, man. Just demonstration of Christ working in your life, calls for the government to bear the sword for the protection of the good, the punishment of the wicked, declarations of spiritual warfare. We have never seen anything like this in our country before.
No, it was truly a remarkable moment. And if just a side note, if it can bring Trump and Elon Musk back together,
yes,
then anything is possible. I would say.
And you know the funny thing about that is that's all Charlie. They, and both of them, the White House posting the picture of them from behind in black and white, and it said "for Charlie." Elon Musk posting a picture of him and Trump, and it says "for Charlie." Charlie tweeted out back in June, President Trump built this movement over 10 years. His supporters are not going anywhere. I hope Elon and Trump reconcile and do so privately. It would be good for the country and the world if they do. And yesterday they did that, and they said, both of them saying, "for Charlie, for Charlie." It's moving, man. It's unbelievable.
Well, listen, I'm gonna bow out of here in just a moment or two and go back to being a retired person and listen. I'll be listening because I can't wait to hear more about your personal insights in this remarkable event that occurred in Arizona. Thank you so much for going. And I know our audience will be excited to hear the things that you observed and your thoughts about this. Something that I think we're going to be talking about for a very long time.
I couldn't agree more, Brian, and thank you again for stepping in when I needed you most. So thank you, and I appreciate you, man.
I'm always here for you, buddy. You just call.
I know it. All right, so we got a lot to cover, and a very little bit of time. I made the joke earlier. I feel like I want to be a Democrat. I want to reclaim some of my time because I feel like I need it today. But we're going to try and get through as much as we can on the way. And I just want to, again, just tell you, they turned this event around in 7 days. An event of this magnitude takes 6 to 8 months to plan normally. This was Operation Warp Speed for Turning Point events without all the negatives that came from Operation Warp Speed. We'll talk about it, though. Liberals big mad. Did you see what the liberal streamer Destiny said? He said it looked like a Nazi rally. He said it was indistinguishable from a Nazi rally. I didn't see anybody speaking German. So, there's some distinguishing marks, right? We'll talk about it. I got a lot to get to. And the moment that I thought was the most powerful was J.D. Vance on stage when he talked about how he doesn't talk about his spirituality. And then he choked up. He almost broke. He almost broke. Well, all that and more on the way. Hang out with us, 615-737-9986. This is Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Looks like we're going to get some possible storms. We'll tell you about it here in 5 minutes. Stunning moment at yesterday's memorial for Charlie Kirk as his widow Erica forgave his killer.
I forgive him because it was what Christ did and is what Charlie would do.
Perry Russum was there.
Erica Kirk says she's honored to be the new CEO of Turning Point USA, the organization her husband founded. She vows to continue his legacy of embracing debate with political opponents.
The answer to hate is not hate. The answer we know from the gospel is love, and always love.
President Trump remembering his friend who helped re-elect him.
He's a martyr now for American freedom.
Kirk tells the New York Times she had urged her husband to wear a bulletproof vest before his final campus tour.
Attorneys for the man accused of shooting and killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson are asking a judge to dismiss federal charges that could result in the death penalty. Attorneys say comments by Attorney General Pam Bondi, along with what they call unconstitutional ways Mangione has been detained, add up to a lesser sentence. Luigi Mangione back in New York, expected to be back in court in December. Here's ABC's Aaron Katursky.
Federal prosecutors have not responded, but they've previously said Mangione deserves a death sentence because he tried to normalize the use of violence to make a point. Mangione convinced a state judge last week to throw out terrorism charges, though that same judge noted there's evidence Mangione murdered Thompson in a premeditated and calculated execution.
Tech companies and workers in the San Francisco Bay Area bracing for a new fee. It's for H-1B visas, and it's 6 figures, ABC's Suzanne Fan reports.
President Trump signed an executive order Friday imposing a $100,000 fee on H-1B visas. Some people have been rushing to fly back to the U.S.
Microsoft and Amazon and other companies communicating with their workers outside the United States come back.
Those visas bring high-skilled tech workers like scientists, engineers, and architects to the U.S. The White House says the fee will not affect current H-1B visa holders. Some believe the new fee will disrupt the tech industry in the Bay Area. In San Francisco, Suzanne Fawn, ABC News.
That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
I love this. Morgan Wallen has now decided to not submit his album, I'm the Problem, for consideration at the Grammys, which I think is a really, really smart move. You know why? Because last year, Beyonce won Album of the Year at the Grammys, which was absolute bullshit. Well played, Morgan. Well played.
It's 11:07 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? My name's Chris Hand. I'm all right. I'm a little bit sweaty. I smell. I haven't showered. I haven't showered in a couple days.
Yeah, I'm glad the glass is dividing us.
I didn't brush my teeth. I haven't brushed my teeth yet, but I'm here, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Grateful you guys tuning in. We were at the memorial service, my wife and I, yesterday for Charlie Kirk. Unbelievable. I wasn't even sure we were going to make it, honestly. We, by the grace of God, we made it. So Friday night, just to kind of backtrack a little bit, Friday night we were at the Culture and Christianity Conference in Murfreesboro. That's where I did my show from on Friday. Friday night was awesome, and I was like, I really felt like it was warming me up for this, for what we were dealing with. I spent some good time backstage with Pastor Rob McCoy, Pastor John Machukwu, Jason Whitlock, Eric Metaxas, Alex Marlowe, Pastor Alan Jackson, and just really great guys just pumping good stuff into you. Do you know how that feels? Like when just you got to get around a group of guys that are really like, they're just centered on Christ. And that was what I needed at that moment. Fast forward to Saturday morning. I'm back at the church, day 2 of the Culture and Christianity Conference. I have to intro Matthew West on stage, and I was very excited to do so. I love Matthew West. My mind was not there at all. I'll be honest with you. I don't even remember what I said I had to make announcements. I don't even remember what I said. Because right before I'm about to go on stage, I check my flight. I would go to check into the flight, and I see a travel advisory. And they say, you might want to reschedule your flight. And I was like, what? What do you mean? Apparently, some knucklehead... This is the story that we're getting. I don't know if it's true or not, but this is what I read. Apparently, some knucklehead cut the cables for the telephone lines in Dallas, where we were going to be connecting. So, like 1,800 flights were delayed on Friday, and that's not a good look. That's not what I need to hear. So, I'm panicking, and we were like, okay, well, what do we do? Do we reschedule a flight? Oh, well, American has nothing left. Okay. What's the next option? Oh, you're flying out today and you're coming back tomorrow? That's going to be about $3,000 for you and your wife. It's like, that's not an option. So all we did was just start requesting prayers. And my boys had a joint birthday party with their buddies at DBAT in Murfreesboro. So it's like, I'm already like just biting my nails. I'm pacing. The anxiety is at all skyrocketing levels. I was like, just stop, forget about it, and let's play some dodgeball. So that's what we did. And I took out some fury and some aggression on those young'uns. And I apologize for that.
Were they the big rubber balls, or were they those like foam ones?
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball, kid. So I did. I took those kids, took them to the woodshed and some dodgeball. I felt better. I felt a lot better.
Did you say things like, in your face?
There was some low level trash talk. I owe a few apologies, and I'll be making those today. So
just pull out a large piece of paper.
So,
good competition builds character.
Listen, you got to suffer. That's what I learned at the memorial service. You want to be a good Christian, you got to suffer.
Yeah, from the way you're talking, that doesn't sound like good competition.
We helped those kids suffer a little bit, and we get through the birthday party, and it's like we fly home and we're packing. We go to the airport. We're not sure what's going to happen. We're being detectives. I don't know if you've ever done this. I'm like, okay, is the aircraft coming in on time? Okay, that's a good sign. But then we're like, okay, are we just going to get stuck in Dallas? And we're like, how long of a ride is it from Dallas to Phoenix? And we're like, 14 hours? That's not doable. So all that being said, by the grace of God, none of our flights are delayed. We get into Phoenix, and we go straight to Turning Point USA headquarters. I know a lot of you probably heard me talking about this last week. We've been collecting letters and mementos for the memorial at Turning Point headquarters, which is just, I could spend an hour talking about the memorial at headquarters. Just like the thoughtfulness in how people were placing their things. Like nobody was just dumping flowers over other people's stuff. It was vast. It was sprawling down this block, blocked off by police. who were great. Phoenix PD was great. But we got there and we had pictures from you guys, letters from you guys, hand drawings from you guys. If you want to see some of that, it's on my Instagram page at Chris Hand on Air. We got a bunch of challenge coins from local police out here, and shout out to Mount Juliet Police and Lebanon Police. Metro Nashville gave us a challenge coin. TBI gave us a challenge coin. HSI for Kentucky and Tennessee gave us a challenge coin. So we were able to bring a little bit of Middle Tennessee right there to headquarters in Phoenix, and that felt really, really good. Then we leave there. We grab In-N-Out Burger because we had to. That's actually the only thing we ate while we were there, my wife and I.
Yeah, it's mandatory.
That was it. We
on
had
the West Coast.
We had In-N-Out Burger for dinner both nights. So it was awesome. And so we go grab In-N-Out Burger, we eat In-N-Out, and then we get to the hotel, and we're like, we made it. We made it. I'm laying in there in bed. It's about 2:30. Okay? No, 1:30. Excuse me, 1:30. Time zones are hard. It's 1:30. And I'm like, man, I haven't seen... So this is what I did. I applied for press credentials because I knew I'd get approved, and I knew that was going to be the easiest way to get me in the door, and I wouldn't have to bother anybody. Because, like, the last thing... I know where I am on the totem pole, and the last thing I want to do is be like, hey, guys, can you get me in? Hey. I was like, let me get in the door, and then we'll figure everything out from there. So press passes were the easiest way to get in. But I thought it was odd that we're getting all these emails about other stuff, and I hadn't gotten my press email yet. So as I'm laying there in bed at 1:30, I find the email in my junk from another employee who I should have looked. I should have looked for her email because I knew that she might be dabbling in the press stuff. But it just went to junk, and I was searching for the press at TPUSA and not this individual's name. I see it, and I'm like, oh, crap, here it is. Okay, what do we have to do? And it said, you need to pick up your credentials by 2 a.m. on Saturday. This is at 1:35 in the morning. So my wife is already like half asleep. And I just bounce up. I'm like, I got to go. And she's like, what? I'm like, I have to go to the Renaissance Hotel down by the stadium and get our press credentials, or we're not going to have them. And so I just jump out. I fly to the Renaissance Hotel. We get our press credentials. And I see some people. It's so great to connect with these guys. I cannot tell you how good it feels to see the Turning Point staff and to hug those guys, and just felt awesome. So we get our press credentials, and thank goodness we did, because the turnaround for what it looked like at 2 a.m., there was already people lining up. They'd been lining up all day. There might have been 20,000, 30,000 people already camped out around the stadium at 1:30 in the morning on Saturday. So, like, thank goodness. So we get our press credentials. We wake up. So then I get back to the hotel. I go to bed. It's probably 3 o'clock. We get up at 4:30. 4:30 a.m. We're getting ready. We're brushing teeth. We're doing all the things. That was the last time I did any of that, by the way. So I know, TMI. So we get all of our stuff, and we get down there, and it is chaos. Not in a bad way. And maybe chaos isn't the right word, because chaos implies that there's, bad stuff happening. But it wasn't. It was just a sea of people. A sea of people. I can't describe. I haven't seen that many people on like a public street ever. It was a lot of people. So we are like, well, what the heck do we do now? And so I texted somebody else, and they're like, meet us in the hotel lobby at the Renaissance. So we turn around, we meet over at the hotel lobby, and then we all kind of walk over as a group. And there was a certain check-in that we're supposed to have, but Secret Service had already closed that down. So then we got to walk to the other side of the stadium. This is all in like 100-degree weather, by the way. It's a dry heat, they say. You'll get used to it. You don't. They're lying. So we're having to like navigate through this massive crowd until somebody just starts saying, guys, we're staff. And we do like a little human centipede thing, not with the mouth, but with arms. And we human centipede in. So it's like a little conga line of Turning Point staff. And
that's a safer way to put it.
That's probably the safer way to put it. At the time, I did use human centipede.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Okay.
Knowing you, yeah, okay.
So we're in this conga centipede. And wait, what?
I don't want to hear that music.
I just wanted to combine both. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google human centipede in your spare time. not on a work computer.
Yeah, no, personal only.
This is the difference between conservatives and liberals. This conservative crowd, here's where staff, and I kid you not, a sea of 100,000 people just starts parting like it's Moses in the Red Sea. It was like one of the kindest things I've ever seen people do. Like other conservatives who are waiting in line, have been waiting in line for 12 hours, are saying, guys, you need to move. This is staff coming through. And it was so kind. We get in there and the place is empty. And you could hear a pin drop in there. And we just kind of like took it all in. And my wife hits it off with Joe Bob's wife, who is going to be induced today. She showed up that pregnant. She's going to be induced today.
Wow.
Because Riley Gaines was also showing up pregnant. Riley Gaines is very pregnant if you haven't been keeping score at home. And so then the mood was, well, if Riley can do it, I can do it. So Crystal is very, very pregnant. And so my wife is so sweet. She's like, y'all do what you need to do. Me and Crystal will just post up. I was like, perfect. So then we're running around, we're doing some media stuff, and then we get some better passes, and we're about 10 rows back. And then that's when everything started going down. And that's when the worship music starts, and you see this crowd of people start flooding in. And I have never seen that many people in one place worshiping Jesus. I just haven't. I haven't. And I think that the last big one was 45,000 people at Dodger Stadium. So 70,000 dwarfs that. And not that that's a small feat either, mind you. But just in my lifetime, I've never seen anything like that, ever. And then you hear the numbers that there's 100 million streams worldwide. And that's just scratching the surface. That's like before you do a deep dig, right? Because that 100 million is going to be amplified because of all the clips that are coming out that are now getting hundreds of thousands of views. That's going to be amplified by shows like this that are going to now play these clips. To see the amount of people that the gospel reached, Charlie would have been, he would have been overwhelmed. So this was his vision. This was always his vision, to be able to fill a stadium like this. Again, it takes 6 to 8 months to plan an event like this. They did it in 7 days. 7 days. By the grace of God. But this is what he always wanted. And Tyler Boyer, who is the CEO of Turning Point Action, he posted everything's done in Telegram over at Turning Point. He posted a screenshot of a Telegram chat from July 13th, 2021. This is when they were coming out of the pandemic. And it's a message from Charlie. And he said, "This is my vision." And it's a picture of a full stadium. He got it. He got it, man. So cool. So cool. But the biggest part was it wasn't a MAGA rally. It wasn't. It was a worship service. And it's quite possible that if you watched it yesterday, that we witnessed the largest singular proclamation of the gospel in human history. I don't know how you could say any other proclamation was as big as what we saw yesterday. And this is just unbelievable. Unbelievable. J.D. Vance, this to me was the quote of the night. And I feel like so many people feel like this. I often say J.D. Vance represents the new American story better than any politician that we have, because of his history, because of the alcohol issues with his mother, the drug addiction issues with his mother. So many people have a story like that in America now. The middle America, forgotten about town that's been just decimated by NAFTA. He is the American story, the new American dream. But he said something else yesterday that I think just plays into that again, where he said he had been uncomfortable talking about his faith in the past. And I think that a lot of us have. And I'll raise my hand and say I've been guilty of that too. I didn't want to seem that, like, years past, I felt like it might come off soft, and oftentimes it can, especially with weak-kneed pastors who focus a lot more on the lamb and a lot less on the lion. We see that. We've all seen that. But it seemed like yesterday we were all focusing on the lion. And J.D. Vance talked about how he had been uncomfortable talking about his faith in years past, and that's changed. And when the crowd responds to this, J.D. Vance gets choked up. You can visibly see his eyes welling up. And if you're watching on the stream on YouTube and Rumble, you'll see this. But this was J.D. Vance yesterday. This was my big quote takeaway from the entire service, because I feel like so many Americans can relate.
Little uncomfortable talking about my faith in public as much as I loved the Lord and as much as it was an important part of my life. I have talked more about Jesus Christ in the past 2 weeks than I have my entire time in public life.
Standing up. And you can see him get choked up.
And that is an undeniable legacy of the great Charlie Kirk. You know, he loved God. And because he loved God, he wanted to understand God's creation and the men and women made in his image. Now, much has been said over the last week about Charlie's ability to approach any topic.
The way he said that, it resonated with that crowd. We all have felt like that at times. That we could lead more with our faith in the public square. That we can bring it out of the bedroom where we're praying at nighttime and to the kitchen table. That we can bring it to the boardroom. That we can bring it to the office. That we can bring it to the airwaves. And I think that a lot of Americans today feel a lot more bolder when it comes to proclaiming Jesus. And I think that is a stunning development and such a great thing to see. I got a lot more audio. The way the cabinet just kept talking about Jesus was unbelievable from top to bottom. I'm going to play you a lot of these cabinet messages. And then I'm going to talk about what Erica Kirk said. Because when Erica Kirk said that she forgave the assassin, first, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. And second, the first thought that ran through my head was, I don't know if I'm ready yet. And I think that speaks a lot to Erica Kirk's strength. We got a lot more to cover. We don't have a lot of time to do it. Hang out with us. 1124 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Why am I so happy and so excited that Jimmy Kimmel lied to his audience?
He had some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from.
I'm excited because the liberal and the legacy media have been lying about Republicans for years, and people like this are finally taking notice.
I didn't think much of the death because from what I had heard, Charlie Kirk had been a neo-Nazi who wanted me to be dead. He didn't support my existence and whatnot. And now I'm kind of sitting here thinking, and I'm like, I feel like I had been lied to. I really took some time after the thing happened to kind of look into his videos, look into his beliefs, look into his thoughts and who he was as a person. And to me, he seemed like a well-mannered family man. He believed in the country. He believed in the greater good of the country. He had his own political beliefs and opinions. And sure, there's a lot of things that I don't agree with him on, but I never would stand for him dying or being murdered because of his beliefs. And I think I may be starting to lean a lot farther right in response to everything that's taken place.
A double murder suspect right there in someone's front yard. We'll tell you what happened at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Ken Weaver in the newsroom. My name's Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. Hey, how are you? You can watch us on YouTube and Rumble. Hit like and hit subscribe. We appreciate it when you do so. We just spent a lot of money on airplane tickets and hotels, so the kids are really, it's bread and water unless we get those likes up. Just letting you know. Just getting back from the Charlie Kirk memorial service. It was unbelievable. The crowd, I can't tell you how amazing that crowd was. 70,000 people in attendance. And anytime a speaker got up there to say something, the crowd was so respectful and so quiet that you could hear a pin drop in that arena. You could. You absolutely could. J.D. Vance saying, listen, I'm feeling a lot more bold today. I'm feeling like I want to talk a lot more about Jesus than I ever have, and I think that resonates with a lot of Americans. He also said something else. He said it's time that we got to be honest with ourselves. There's a lot of evil that walks among us.
At what he might say and what he would encourage me to do. And here's what I think. I think he would encourage me to be honest that evil still walks among us. Not to ignore it for the sake of a fake kumbaya moment, but to address it head on and honestly as the sickness that it is.
Amen.
But I also think he would encourage me, he would encourage all of us to focus on the good. He would encourage us to remember that for every hateful voice celebrating his murder, there are 1,000 people mourning it and fighting for his legacy every single day. He would tell me to pray. I'm certain of it. He would tell me to pray for my friends, but also for my enemies. He would tell me to put on the full armor of God and get back to work.
There was a lot of that yesterday, man. And to hear that coming from the vice president, to hear it coming from the president, to hear it coming from Tulsi Gabbard and, RFK. RFK, I don't know if you noticed this, but I noticed this. I think that it hit RFK pretty heavy. Given his family history. This was a political assassination, and I think that he was taking it pretty hard. Pete Hegseth, though, had a great line.
My pastor texted me the day after that horrific event and said, Pete, the devil overplayed his hand.
Honestly, the devil overplayed his hand. And when you see the streaming numbers coming out, when you see what's happening globally from this event, it is wild. I got a text here, and I appreciate the text. It said that 1987, the outdoor mass with the Pope was about 200,000 people. I'd say that's great info. That was before I was born. I was -1 at the time. But they didn't have the internet. They didn't have the internet. So that 100 million people watching, the millions upon millions that are going to see these clips, the millions upon millions that are going to hear knuckleheads like me talking about it, the impact of this is enormous. I can't even grasp the impact of this yet. And I was so grateful to be a part of it. I'm going to play you a lot more audio on the way from that memorial service. Anything you want to add, 615-737-9986. Any questions you might have. I mean, I'm honestly gassed, dude. I've had 4 hours of sleep, 5 hours of sleep in about 2 days. So I'm leaving a lot out, and I know tomorrow I'm going to be a lot more put together for you guys. But any questions you got, 615-737-9986. We got audio on the way from Tulsi Gabbard, RFK. We got some more audio from Vance, Trump. I will agree, Trump was probably the least favorite speaker of the evening. Rubio surprised a lot of people, but we'll also play the audio from Erica Kirk as well. Hang out with us. It's 11:32 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We are tracking the potential for some strong storms. We've got a band of showers out to the west of us in West Middle Tennessee. Moving slowly this way. We'll keep an eye on it for you. It's not expected to go severe, but you know where we live. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Right now in Tennessee, double murder suspect Peyton Wayne Nations is in custody after a multi-county manhunt yesterday that ended in this man's front yard in Silver Point.
My daughter looks out the window and she says, "Dad, that guy that the cops are looking for," she called him the shooter, "is outside." This is a serious matter. We were all on pins and needles. I was going to do what I had to do, but they beat me to it. They did an awesome job.
Yeah, Nations was booked into the Overton County Jail on a $40 million bond in the shooting deaths of 25-year-old Isaiah Thomas Hotkins and 43-year-old Christina Denise Hotkins outside their home. Well, if you want to get a COVID shot but are wondering if insurance will cover it, ABC's Wayne Cabot has some news.
The trade group America's Health Insurance Plan says the vaccine will be covered at no cost to patients through 2026. That group includes every major insurer except United Healthcare. CVS says their pharmacies are stocked with the vaccines, and they are now able to deliver vaccinations in all 50 states and D.C. Prescriptions are required in D.C. and some states, including Florida and Georgia. Walgreens also requires prescriptions in a few states. Wayne Cabot, ABC News.
That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at Zero Res of Nashville. So I left the 4 kids with the grandparents. Haven't been home yet. I'm wondering if I'm going to find mystery stains on the carpet. The boys had baseball, and I'm wondering if they took their cleats off before they went back inside. You know how kids get. They take advantage of Nana and Grampy. But I'm not stressing. If there is the mystery stains, if there is the dirt and grime, I'm going to call Zero Res of Nashville. They use their exclusive ZR water. No soap, no harsh chemicals, no residue, which means the carpets, the upholstery, it's not just going to look really, really clean. It's going to stay clean longer. The kids can sprawl out on the floor when they're done. I don't have to worry about what's in the fibers. And it's not just carpets. They do everything, and they can do this for you. Air ducts, tile, rugs, upholstery, the works. Perfect. If you're trying to clean up the house after the kids ran roughshod over Nana and Grampy as well. Right now, you can get some fantastic deals. All you got to do is give them a call, 615-535-9376, 615-535-9376, or find them online, ZeroResNashville.com. 11:39, Super Talk 99.7 WTM. My name is Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. Water filtration systems, water softeners. You get those at betterwater.com. We're reeling. My wife and I just got back into Nashville at, what time did I text you? It was like 10:30? 10:30?
Yeah, right on 10:30.
Yeah. Jeez. It's been a whirlwind.
Just a little bit.
We got on our first flight at midnight last night. So it's been a doozy. But
couldn't get here any sooner.
I wouldn't change it for the world. To the fact that we got to go to the memorial service for Charlie Kirk was an absolute blessing, and to be able to sit there with my wife and watch all of it was just unbelievable. For a lot of it, we're sitting next to Savannah Hernandez and Alex Clark and Morgan McMichael. We've had them all on the show. They're some of the nicest ladies that you could ever meet, and it was just so great to be around these people and to hug them and be like, man, and just feel the feels together. So it was really nice, man. Just really nice. I see that there is some anti-Charlie Kirk trolls in the YouTube chat. I just would tell everybody, don't feed the trolls. I even got trolled over the weekend. I posted a tweet. From the memorial service, and I don't even know what I said. I don't even think I put Charlie Kirk's name in the actual tweet. I just kind of did like a video of like the room, and somebody was like cheering on Charlie Kirk dying. It's like, well, that's effed up. You got to repent. But don't feed the trolls. I just ignored it. Like that's what you got to do. They're looking for the reaction.
Yeah, they want you to be mad.
That's what the trolls want. Like, who cares? Who cares about them? Enjoy fiery brimstone. So, have fun in a lake of fire. Like best of luck. Repent. So don't worry about it. Then don't blog them either. We're free speech advocates. So let them expose themselves. We got a lot of audio to get to. Hegseth last night. Hegseth was awesome. He was really, really good and super impressive. I haven't heard a lot of Hegseth's speeches, full disclosure. Like, I've heard clips of him on the news and interviews and stuff like that. But, like, an actual speech, I hadn't heard. And he was awesome. But I felt this way about just about every member of the cabinet, up to and including Stephen Miller. And Hegseth said when it comes to what we're going to do moving forward, how are we going to live our lives? Like, this is an absolute moment. It's a turning point. But, like, what do we do next? This was Hegseth's charge to everyone in attendance and everyone listening worldwide.
My charge to all of you, live worthy of Charlie Kirk's sacrifice and put Christ at the center of your life as he advocated for giving his. Charlie has heard the words echoing now in heaven. Well done, good and faithful servant. Charlie will take it from here. God bless.
I love that. Charlie will take it from here. Again, there was no stone unturned at the memorial event. Bracelets on every chair that say "We are Charlie Kirk." Signs everywhere. I don't know if you can see this on the stream, but I have this sign. I grabbed a couple of these for the kids, and I'm going to frame one of these for my studio. But it's Charlie Kirk says, "Here I am, Lord, send me." There were all these different signs, and there was 3 different versions. We got our hands on that one, and we were trying to get our hands on others, but everybody was taking them home with them, and I think everybody's going to be framing these. It's truly something that I'm going to cherish for the rest of my life. But what do we do next, right? And Hegseth says, put Christ at the center of your life. Advocate for Christ. Charlie did it. We can do it as well, and I feel like a lot of people are moved to do that right now. Tucker Carlson was speaking, and I like Tucker. I know a lot of you are like, oh, Tucker's gotten crazy, but that's fine. I can like Tucker and disagree with some of his takes, and I think that if you agree with 100% of somebody's takes, I don't know, like that feels off. Like, I love Charlie Kirk, and I didn't agree with 100% of his takes. I don't think I agree with 100% of anybody's takes, besides my own. And then I find myself disagreeing with myself from years before. Weird how that happens. I'll be like, I was wrong about that. But Tucker Carlson calling this the most unbelievable thing that he has ever seen. And he says, what happens next?
It's real. This is the most unbelievable thing I think I've ever seen. And I don't... Whatever happens next in America, I hope it's in this direction, because God is here and you can feel it. And Charlie would have loved this, not just because he loved large groups of people, but because ultimately he was a Christian evangelist.
Yep.
And it actually reminds me of my favorite story ever.
Charlie would have loved what happened yesterday. Charlie would have loved to see the staff executing at such a high level. And they were executing at a high level. Tucker, though, said something else that resonated with me. And I've been making this case for Charlie Kirk, especially. And when I started this show, I did look to Charlie for some inspiration. Not that I'm going to do the Charlie Kirk show, but because Charlie is so authentic. And one of the things that I always want to do with this show is like be the same me, whether you catch me in the grocery store or at softball practice or baseball practice with the boys, or whether you're listening to me on the radio. And I think that Charlie did that just unbelievably well. And I think that's why his death hit so many people so hard, because you do feel like the guy that's talking, because he says the same things in the staff meetings, and he says the same things at his dinner table, and he says the same things on his radio show. That authenticity is really a driving force right now in media. Charlie had that. And Tucker was making the case that, listen, he had that authenticity even in private, even so much so when it came to his enemies. He wouldn't speak ill of them.
But the main thing about Charlie and his message, he was bringing the gospel to the country. He was doing the thing that the people in charge hate most, which is calling for them to repent. So how is Charlie's message different? And Charlie was a political person who was deeply interested in coalition building and in getting the right people in office, because he knew that vast improvements are possible politically. But he also knew that politics is not the final answer. It can't answer the deepest questions, actually. That the only real solution is Jesus.
Yep.
And the reason, it's really simple. Politics, at its core, is a process of critiquing other people and getting them to change. Christianity, the gospel message, the message of Jesus, begins with repentance. Christianity calls upon you to change. Our core prayer given to us by Jesus, the Lord's Prayer, demands that we forgive other people, but preceding that is a request for our forgiveness. In other words, forgive us our sins, meditate on what we've done wrong, how we've fallen short, and then it becomes possible to forgive other people. That is a call to change our hearts from Jesus, and that is the only way forward in this country. That is the only solution to where we all know we're going. And Charlie knew where we were going without that. And that is not a call for being politically passive. Of course not. I stood on many stages with Charlie calling for various people to be elected, particularly Donald Trump. And I'm proud of that. It's only an acknowledgement that what Charlie was really saying is that change begins, the only change that matters, when we repent of our sins.
Amen.
Me. A recognition that the real problem is me and how fallen I am. And that was the reason that Charlie was fearless at all times, truly fearless. To his last moment, he was unafraid, he was not defensive, and there was no hate in his heart. I know that because I've got a little hate compartment in my heart, and I would often express that to Charlie about various people, and he would always say, that's a sad person, that's a broken person, that's a person who needs help, that's a person who needs Jesus. He said that in private because he meant it.
That was the difference. It's that authenticity. That's who he was. That's who he was 24/7. When I say I want to be more like Charlie, I mean it in that way. I want to be that authentic Christian 24/7. That's what I want to be, and that's what I'm trying to work towards. And I don't know about you, but I feel like it's been a calling on me since this happened to be a better Christian and a better husband and a better father. And I feel like a lot of men in this country feel the exact same way. If not all three, at least one. But you know, this is kind of the direction that we're going, and we need to keep pushing. We have to. I know I'm running short on time, and I'm probably not going to get to the Eric Kirk stuff today. Just full disclosure, I think that warrants a larger discussion, which we'll have more time for tomorrow. So that being said, I do want to play a clip, and I could play all the names I could, but we'll have more time for that tomorrow. I'd rather focus on real quick, Mikey McCoy. I thought Mikey McCoy gave one of, if not the best speech of the entire night. He didn't have a lot of time, but he made real good use of the time he had. If you don't know who Mikey McCoy is, he's the son of Pastor Rob McCoy. He was Charlie's chief of staff. He traveled all over the world with Charlie. He was with him every single day. And his speech, to me, when they're looking for a new Charlie Kirk, when they're looking, and I know how that sounds, and I don't mean it that way, but when they're looking for a full-time guy to move into that slot, I would suggest Mikey McCoy. I just would.
My name.
He gave his speech last night with his wife by his side, Elizabeth, who I also know and worked with quite a lot at Turning Point, and she is one of the nicest people that you'll ever meet. But he talks about how he got his start with Charlie Kirk.
My name is Mikey McCoy. I had the unique honor, blessing, and privilege of a lifetime to not only call Charlie a precious friend, mentor, but to travel with him literally everywhere. The first time I met Charlie was when I was driving him and his then girlfriend Erica to the airport after he had spoken at my father's church. The entire car ride, he was grilling me on Aristotle, Socrates, Plato, American history. At the end, he said, "Don't go to college, come work for me instead."
And that's what he did, and it was a life-changing thing, and it was a heartwarming story, but what I really liked out of Mikey McCoy was the fire. And this kid has some fire. I think Mikey's only 24, 25, and I could be wrong. I think he might even be a little bit younger than that.
Charlie was not silenced. His movement is only beginning. The voices of millions globally have been awakened, furthering his cause and mission far beyond anyone's comprehension. We won't cower in fear. We will never surrender. We are resolved to live free from lies and seek out what is true. We will respectfully, boldly challenge what is accepted by culture in order to seek out what is true and acceptable to God Almighty alone.
That was Mikey McCoy, and he just absolutely knocked it out of the park. I was so impressed with that kid. I think he was the youngest speaker on the stage at the entire memorial service, and I thought that he, at least to me, and maybe I'm just too close, but I thought that he delivered one of the best speeches of the night. If you didn't hear Mikey McCoy's full remarks, if you didn't see this, what are you waiting for? It's all over the internet. You should be watching this. You should listen to these remarks. If you're watching on YouTube, I kind of paused it there, but you can see his dad, Pastor Rob McCoy, in the crowd, and even he is just so incredibly impressed. You can see it written all over his face. But Friday night at World Outreach Church, he was joking about Mike. Pastor Rob was his son. And he said, "This is proof that my wife committed adultery because there's no way I could make a kid this great." That's such a good line. Pastor Rob McCoy had some great lines too as well. But just the calls for everyone to come to Jesus, the calls for people to repent, the fact this is echoing across the globe, I'm moved by it. I don't know how you can't be moved by it. I don't know how you can't. So we got a lot more to cover. And we'll get to it. I'm going to break it down. I'm going to gather my thoughts, and we're going to have a much more in-depth show on all of this tomorrow. Plus, we'll get to some of the reaction from some of the lefties who were very upset. And a lot of the left had to cover this honestly. I know. CNN even had to cover this. I mean, how could they not? hundreds of thousands of people descending on Phoenix, Arizona to remember Charlie Kirk and to proclaim Jesus as their Lord and Savior. It was a moment that I am so grateful to have been a part of, and it's a moment that I'll never forget. I'll never forget just sitting there and watching all of this with my wife by my side and just thinking like, wow. And it still felt so surreal the entire time. I mean, I remember leaning over to Morgan at one point and being like, this just feels like we're waiting for Charlie to come out and close the show. It feels like it just doesn't feel real. It still doesn't. But we'll gather our thoughts tomorrow. We'll dive in a little bit more in depth. And then I think we got to start focusing onward. Like, where do we go from here? And we got to start covering the news again, right? I think that's what we got to do. And we're going to do that tomorrow. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And I'm sorry I missed the beginning of the show. It's 11:54. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.